When do you do all of this, Neil?
It's interesting. You know the story. I haven't told you the full figures, but you listen to the podcast, so you know got into financial trouble, and the actual figure was 500,000. So I said in the podcast hundreds of thousands, but it's not. It was 500,000, literally £400,000 of personally guaranteed debt, and then we had to raise another 100,000 to buy the company back. And of course, we couldn't go to banks or lending because we owed them so much. So we had to go to friends and family, literally, and we did. Between the pair of us, we raised another 100,000. That's 500,000. Sounds great now. This side of the story, saying, "Yeah, I was 500,000 in debt," and we paid it off. But I could smell that was coming, which is why I started doing hosting, and I couldn't understand it when people would look at me and go, I don't know how you do it. My answer in my head was, when the dream or nightmare is big enough, you just do it. And I now have help around the house. I look at the work they do and I think, how did I have time to do all that and everything else? I can't work it out, but I did. I did it for 5 years. I did everything.
That's impressive.
Because the alternative was lose my house, and I wasn't prepared for that to happen.
No, of course, that makes sense.
The nightmare was big enough. I find nowadays it's a great story to tell, and I enjoy telling it because it has happy endings.
Yeah, true.
It's just when your back's against the wall, you either suck your thumb and go and cry in a corner somewhere, or you just pull on every resources you can and you just make it happen. When I was looking for the extra 100,000, when I came home, of course I told my guests, and I had some regulars guests. There was one particular lady who's a university lecturer. She was staying with me for 3 nights, 3 nights a week for a year during term time, during university term time. When I came home, of course I was talking about what was going on at work. It was quite dramatic what was going on at work. I chose to make it fun. So I just found the funny side of everything that was happening on it, because I knew if I was morose and down in the dumps, we never guess what's happening. All my guests would run away. But if I made it funny, I'd entertain them. That made it fun for me.
It's a good outlook on a good outlook on your life. Yeah.
2017 should have been the shittiest summer of my life. It's been the best summer this decade or this century for me, because of what happened and because of all this. Now, when I was saying, we've got to buy the company back, we've got to find 100,000, this lady turned around to me and said, well, I've got £10,000 sitting in my bank. Would you like to borrow it? I said, but I said, much as I love you, you're a guest, you're essentially a stranger, you're not family friend, you're not friends or family officially. She said, no. She said, well, if you change your mind, let me know. So 2 weeks later, I changed my mind. I said, is that money still on the table? She said, yes, of course. I said, great. I'll pay you 5% interest. She said, no, you won't. I said, why not? She said, it's not earning me any money in the bank. Why should I benefit from your problems? I said, well, look, I cannot accept it for nothing. I insist that I give you something. She said, oh, all right. You can give me a week of free nights. I said, right, 7 free nights. No, she said, I only come for 3 nights, not 7, just 3 nights. You can borrow £10,000 for 3 free nights. I said, okay. Do you want an agreement? She said, no, just a piece of paper with the running total on, we'll be fine. Just every time I stay, just knock it off, and when you've got some spare cash, pay me off. I said, you are unbelievable. And 13 months later, or whatever it was, when I gave her the final amount of money, I said, thank you so much. And I said to her, tell me, why did you do that?
Yeah. Faith in humanity restored.
And she said, well, when I knew what your circumstances were and I saw what you were doing, you were working every hour you had. You made every bed available. You did everything you possibly could to earn the money you needed in order to be able to pay off the debt and make this thing work. She said, I knew I was going to get my money back. Anyone with that attitude, of course I'm going to get my money back. So many other people would have just put their hands in the air and just declared bankruptcy and gone and sucked their thumb in the corner. And you didn't. So I was very happy to help you. And she did. Now, I don't know if you have ever come across the concept, knock and the door will be open unto you. Does that ring any bells?
It doesn't, no.
Okay, so it's actually a phrase from the Bible. He says, so if you're wanting something, knock on the door and the door will be opened for you. Now, I've always believed or understood that when you say knock on the door, it's the door that you are knocking on that will open. Now, let's backtrack a bit. What you could do is go and stand in front of the door and do this. Well, is anything going to happen? No. By knocking on the door, you are taking action. You're doing something with intent of going through that door because you want something. You're taking action. You're putting yourself out. You are doing it. You're potentially looking like a fool knocking on the door. It doesn't matter. You're still doing it. When you take action, there is something to watch. When there's something to watch, the catch is you do not know who is watching you. And as I have just told you in that story, it was not the door that I was knocking at that opened. It was the other door that I didn't even know was there. My point being, take action to follow your dreams, even though you do not know what it is you're necessarily doing. Because when you take action, you are believable and helpable. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll just bump on to another little story.
You really could be doing TED Talks, you know that, right? This is really good.
My nephew, when he was leaving university, had big dreams about setting up a safari company. He's lived all his life in Kenya. And my dad was in the kitchen. And we all three were in the kitchen. And then my nephew left to go and pick up his sister from the station. And as soon as he was out of the door, my dad looked at me and said, "Have you heard of his latest crackpot idea?" And I said, "Yes, I have." "Where does he think he's going to get the money from? Where does he think he's going to get the licenses from? How does he think?" I said, Dad, shut up. The lad has a dream. With that dream, he is willing to move. He is willing to take action. Now, we have got two options here. We can do what you're proposing to do, which is to let his tires down before he even starts. Or we can do what I'm intending to do, which is to get into the passenger seat and steer him. But you cannot steer a parked car. He is willing to move. He is willing to take action. Great. I will sit next to him and guide him where he needs to be. And that's what I did. He stayed with me for about 5 months while he was between university and so on. And I knew really early on what it was that he should be doing, but I didn't tell him. I said, "You've got to work it out yourself because you've got to own it. If I tell you, it's my idea, not yours." And eventually he came down and said, "I'm going to do a safari course, learn to be a safari guide in Africa." And I said, "Yeah, that's right. You need to be a teacher to teach people about the world around them. That's what you want to do. And this is perfect. Well done. Off you go."
That is wonderful.
If my dad had had his way, he'd probably been, I don't know, tractor driver on the farm somewhere and had his tires let down. So when you take action, you will be steerable, you will be teachable, and you'll be the right student. And when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. But not before, because you're not worth teaching, because you're not taking action.